Okay, so good morning once again, and I welcome us back again. Um, we've been on analyzing data with Python programming language, and so far so good. We have dealt with how to import libraries, how to load data sets into our IDE, otherwise known as our notebook. Which help us to bring all our data aspects in one place for us to be able to deploy the Python library functions in order to derive actionable insights that can lead or that can help stakeholder to make effective decisions. So we started by looking at some Python inbuilt functions which are used to inspect our data, which align with one of the rules, the rules in data analytics. I told us that the first thing is for us when we are given data sets, the first thing is for us to study the data, to understand the data, because if we do not understand the data set we are given to analyze, it then means that we may not be able to draft active or effective analysis questions. And of course, you and I know that ability to draft quality analysis question is a major factor to arriving at quality uh, insights derivation. So once your questions are weak, there is every possibility of you not coming up with strong insights. So please, we now took our time to explore those functions that we can use to check the total number of record in the data frame, to check the total number of features or the headers in our data sets. And then we also look at started looking at data selection. So started looking at different ways we can select our data. Look at how to select a single attribute from a given data. We look at how to select rows and then all of that. And then we have also covered how to sort data, how to concatenate data, how to join two different data sets to become a new data frame that you can analyze. So we have actually done a lot of things, and I think this is where we stop. So we are still on iLog. So I introduce Python inbuilt function called log and iLog, which I told us that they are used to, they are part of data filtering command within Python. Okay, so we also look at different ways of relating them, how we can use the log, which is a label-based selection method, and the iLog, which is integer-based selection, and we're able to use it to select more than one attribute from our data. And then we also look at data addition, which is an alternative method for concatenation. So look at that. So I think the last topic was sorting of data. I'm very sure. Sorting. Yeah, sorting of data. All right. So let's start with filter by threshold. I don't know if we have done that. You have to confirm. Have we done filter by threshold under data filtering? Or have we even started looking at data filtering? We check if we have looked at data filtering. I hope this is where we stop. Check and confirm from your notebook as well. If somebody should check and let me know if this was exactly where we stopped. After sorting, or was sorting the last topic?
Sorting was the last topic.
Was the last, so we have not done anything data filtering, right? Data filtering.
Data filtering analysis.
Have we done no, as in
no data filtering, but we have filtering analysis.
Okay. So because all these selection, most of them are still under data filtering. So if we have not taken data filtering as a topic, because there are different techniques that I want us to understand under it. So let's start from there. So let's start from filtering or data filtering. Data filtering. So let me mark it down in order for me to identify this section in next class. So data filtering. So what is data filtering? Now, if you look at the kind of selection we have been performing since, there are a lot of limitations. So let me just take us back a little. You see that here we selected or we sorted the entire data set based on age. So that is not filtering. Now, here is still sorting. Here is concatenation. I'm trying to, here we selected only one particular word, features values, which means that we filter out the whole of what the values in that particular column. And when we use ilog, we are also performing some sort of filtering, but not really filtering. So there are a lot of selection that those techniques we have learned can actually give to us. That is why we are looking at what other filtering logic. So let's write another powerful feature of pandas. Another powerful feature of pandas. Another powerful feature of pandas is the ability to filter data, to break it, ability to filter data according to a predefined criteria, or threshold. So that is another ability of pandas. So which means that most of these functions we are going to be consulting, they are coming from what? Pandas library. So Panda has a lot of inbuilt function or techniques which can enable us to filter. Now, if I may just take us back to our basic Excel knowledge, we dealt with filter there. Filter means you are selecting part of, is another way of data selection, is another way of retrieving data. You want to display certain value per time, depending on the specified criteria. So whenever you are performing filtering analysis, there must be an assigned criteria. So from the entire data set, you want to view certain value only. So the benefit is that it gives you concentration. It allows you to get some insights that can also be part of your conclusion. So we are going to see different way we can use this to derive insights from our data sets. So let's say, for example, when we use ilog or log calls out the entire values in a column. So there was no actually criteria defined there. So supposing we are saying that the log should be able to call out only record where name is equals to a particular name, then we can say that, oh, the criteria is the name. So in that case, we are filtering based on a specific name. So if I may just work with this data, let me look at the data we have here. Looking at the data that has much record. Okay, so let's work with this data. So, and the name is data 1. So let me just call it closer to where we are right now within our notebook. So if I write data 1 and then run it. So from this data set, let's assume, if you look at it, let me pick city column. Under city, we have 3 unique city record in this particular data set. We have record from Yangon, we have record from Naypyidaw, we have record from Mandalay. Now, supposing as a data analyst, you are asked to filter out only Yangon's record. Probably you have an intention. You want to focus on them so that you can easily count them, or there could be other reasons why you may be asked to display them per time. So that is filtering. In other words, from the entire frame, you are calling out only one particular value, which that value you are using is the criteria. So the criteria for selecting or for filtering here is Yangon, where record under city is equals to Yangon. So how do we answer that question? So let me put it in writing. So the first task under data filtering is, let's say, task 1. Task 1 is from the sales inventory above. From the sales inventory above, display or filter only Yangon only record from Yangon city. From Yangon city. So this is the question. So how do we answer this question? And the funny part of it is that we want to select this set of record and store them in a different data objects. Perhaps in the future, we want to relate to only record from Yangon. So this will have helped us to pull them out and dump them in a different container. So which means if that is my intention, I have to start by creating the container. So the container will now be the storage. So let's say Yangon's, I can say Yangon's record or entry equals to. Now, the name of the data set where this particular Yangon exists is what you call next, which is data 1. Then you concatenate it with the header, with the feature in the data set that holds the Yangon value, which you want to use as the criteria. So which means Yangon is a value under city. So that city is the header that contains. So you reference it the way it is in the data set. I believe the first letter is capital letter. So what you are indirectly saying is that the criteria for the selection, the criteria for the filtering value is in city column. That is what we are saying. And once we have done that, you now say equals to. So you are saying that now once you have imputed your equal sign, which is 2 equal sign, you have to acknowledge the criteria. The criteria should be acknowledged as a string, which means that it should be in either double quote or single quote. So I'll quote it the way it is. Now, what I normally do is to copy it from the data set, Control C, to avoid typographical error and paste it. So the communication here is that from this data one, there is, from this data one, I reach out to city column, under which you locate what? Yangon. That is what you have just communicated. So I can stop here, which means that I just want to what? Pull them out. So if I run it, it's going to generate an output. So for me to view the output, I will have to call what? The data objects, which is this. So if I run it, check what happened. So you can see that this is what you get. So you get what? True value, because we have not completed the logic. What you have done is that assemble all the records in Yangon, all the Yangon's record, assemble them and store them in what? Data one. Sorry, and store them in Yangon's record while you are still within the data frame itself. So that is why we got that true and false, because we have not really commanded those records to come out. So what we simply did here now, what we have done so far is that within that data one, though the Yangon records are not in one place. As you can see here, we have Yangon here, we have Yangon here, and then you have Mandalay, you have Napito, you have another Yangon. So you can see that they are not in one segment. So what that code did is just to, first of all, gather them in one segment first. That is the first thing you have done. Now, on the next line, you will now say, okay, from that data, call out only that segment. And how do you communicate that? You will call that data itself, data one, then you will now select, use the square bracket, which means that what? Yes, the first line of code has assembled them in a segment. So right now, all the Yagons, irrespective of where they were before, they are now assembled in a segment. And that segment is called what? Yagon underscore records. So now you are now saying that, okay, so from that entire data set, call out the segment. That is why we are acknowledging the data again. And they will now supply this name inside the square brackets, not as a string, because it's a variable. So if I run it now, you see that what? I get only what? Yagon's records. You can see it now. So if I want to know how many of them, then from here I'll be able to know. Or I could just add what? Count to this. I can just say dot what? Counts. Dot counts. So once I run this, this will give me what? The total numbers of record under each of those what? Column. So since I'm having the same number of record, it means that what? There are no missing values. So this is just to confirm how many of them, if you don't want to depend on the notebook option. Hope that is clear. So I want to give us just 2 minutes to achieve this if you have this same data type. Or do we have any question? I believe it's clear. Any question?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the next let's try it for the next 2 minutes, like I said, quickly. And then if somebody is pleased to share his or her screen, fine, so that I can see what you are doing. let's proceed. Let's proceed so that we can actually cover much. So that is how you can use the filter technique to select record within your data set based on the predefined criteria, like I mentioned before. So as you can see from the whole of the data set, we were able to pull out only what record from Yangon City. So let's say, because in real sense, when you are analyzing company data, it is not good you just give statistics on one unique variable where you have three. This particular data set constitutes of three different cities. We have Yangon, we have Mandalay, and your analysis has shown that you have 340 record collected from Yangon city alone. So you need to also present for other cities. It's very important. So we need to also run the same analysis for two other cities so that we can draw our conclusion, so that we can identify the trend and even the pattern. How does value for Yangon is different from the value from Mandalay? What is the differences? So all this, we cannot get those variables without analyzing for each of the cities. So what I'm going to do, like I asked Mr. Joseph to do while we're waiting for you. So what I'm going to do is to simply copy this particular function or line of codes and then paste it. Then the only thing I'm going to change, I'll change it to the one I want to filter out each record. Let's say I want to Napitol. Okay, so I'll go back to the data and copy it. Please, let's always copy from the data to avoid typographical error. Control C. So I go back to my code and then change this to that particular city, because at the moment we are filtering for this city. And then we have to also replace this, Control C, with this. All right, so if I run it now, you see that what? Now we have just what? A record from Napitol. And then you need to do your comparison. Do your comparison. You can see that we have 328 of them compared to Yangon with what? 340. So that itself has shown that what? More transactions happened in Yangon than what? Napitol. So let's check for the next city before we can actually draw our conclusion. So I'll just take the entire formula again, Control C, and then paste it here. Then change this to Mandalay. Say Mandalay. Mandalay. So let me go and grab the Mandalay entry within the data set. I'll take this, Control C, and then replace it with this. And then, of course, we also change the object name, Control C, and then we paste it here. Then if I run it, so I also have for Mandalay. So you can see that if I'm to write my conclusion, because like I told us, you need to have a separate section. Maybe it could be an entire row dedicated for, at the end of each analysis, you go there and update your observation. Where recommendation is required, you also list out your recommendation, or you use PowerPoint. So at the end of each analysis, you are supposed to study the report, because it is out of studying the report that you will not know what actually happened. So you look at the three analyses we have performed. you notice that Yagon is topping. So which means that what? My trend is what? Yagon. But that is not enough for a company to make decision, just knowing the highest. So the company will also want to know the lists among them. So the list from the same analysis is the NAPITOR. So that is not still enough. The company, though they can factor it out. So when you are giving this report, you give the report like, okay, let's say if I'm reporting now, let's say I'm reporting insights from, you call the name of the data set, says inventory data. So for example, so I can now say just a kind of intro. So after performing series of analysis. So you are speaking to your stakeholders now. After performing series of analysis, here are some actionable conclusions. Actionable conclusion. Now you can now say A, or you can say 1. Let's say A, you observe that there were 3 different cities in the data sets. That is the first observation. So you are telling them that their record were collected from 3 cities. So your observation B is the Yangon city. The Yangon city is topping with the total terms of counting, total number of 340 transaction or entry. Then you can now put comma followed by Mandalay. Let me see if I'm correct. Mandalay, break it here, with 300, what was it, with what's it, Mandalay, yeah, with 2 records. And the list is NAPITOR. With, you have to mention the value, with I think it was 328 records. Okay, so now when you are writing your analysis report, there are times that you just give the rough sketch like this, and then you can ask AI to fine-tune it. Perhaps maybe you want to know whether your sentence and the use of words are correct. So what you do is that you just copy the whole of this like this. Just copy everything. Let's say Control C. So you want to check if there are some adjustments because you don't know the level of people you want to present to. So you don't want to go there and disgrace yourself. So what you do is you check your sentence, your grammar with AI. So you can just say that what correct. So you assume that there are errors. So correct this. Correct this. So you put what you copy, you place it inside. So remove the hash because the hash are comment notation in Python so that then you run it. So let's see. So good. You can see after performing series of analysis, here are some what actionable what conclusion. A, you observe that there are 3 different what cities in the data set. Yangon has the highest number of record widths, followed by this. So you can see little adjustment. So you can now copy it back, take it back to where you are performing your analysis, and then paste it. Then now that you have pasted it, you have to convert it to comments. So you just come in front of them and put your comment notation, and that sort it out. So that is how you can use AI to fine-tune your statements or your sentences. All right. So so that is for that. Let's quickly look at the threshold because I started by saying filtering, data filtering, data filtering. Remember the topic? I said data filtering according to a predefined criteria and threshold. So let's look at the threshold aspect now. So what are we talking about? Now, when you perform your last filtering, the criteria for the selection was tests. How do I know? What we analyze here, look at it here. This is the criteria that led to the display of what we have here, which means that we filter based on text. Now, if the question changes from this to, let me look at the other header. Let me look at the other header first. Let's say the question changes from filtering per city to filtering per. So we want to filter based on threshold. I want to get to number. Good. Let's say gross income. We have a gross income here. So let's say we are asked to filter based on where gross income is greater than, let's say, looking at the value here, where gross income is greater than 24. That is threshold filtering, where gross income is greater than 24. So let me quickly put that as my next question that I want to answer. So here I said filtering by threshold, and the tax is filter the sales inventory by gross income, where, so this is the clause, where gross income is greater than 28. They are the only values you want to see. Only record where gross income is above 28. So it can be equals to 28. It could be what? Less than 28. It can even be what? Greater than or less than or greater than. So depending on how you know how to use those logical operators. Now let's answer the question. So what we are going to do, we also want to store this particular version we are going to get in a different storage within the program. So for that, I would say gross income greater than gross income greater than let me put underscore greater than underscore 28 equals to, so that same logic here, so the only thing is that we are not going to, so there's a little bit different between this and the other one. Okay, so here we will say the name of the data set we are performing this on is data 1. Then from data 1, select, we want to concatenate the header, so I'll call the data 1 again inside selection bracket, and then concatenate the header with the criteria value, which is the gross income. So let's go there. I hope gross income header is already captured. Thank God that we have added the underscore. So you take it, Control C, and then I go back to my code section. Then we paste it here. That is from data set, select from data 1, select gross income. Then you put your operator greater than that 28. So this is the simple syntax. So if I run it now, I get the answer, and the answer is stored in what? This. Now this one, we don't use that logic. That we use. No, the other logic we used was we assume that the whole of those values have already been selected and stored within a section in that data set. And we call the data set to pull out that section. But in this case, we will just call what? The name direct. We are not going to follow that. So let me just put a gross and then tab to call the entire object name. And then if I run it, you see that if you go back to the data now and then focus on gross income value, just focus on gross income value, you will notice that the values you are going to have there are values greater than what? 28. So let me just go there so that we can see it properly. So you can see it now. If you check through this column, you only find values greater than 28. So any question? Do we have any question?
Sorry, sir. Let me see the code again. Can you?
The code, right? Let's write the code.
Okay. You're trying to explain why we are calling the name only this time. Can you run me through that?
Sorry?
I said you were trying to explain why this time we are calling only the record. I didn't quite understand the last sentence you made there.
That why this is calling only value greater than 28? Is that what you are saying?
No. You were saying something. I didn't get it. So, but
Okay. What I was saying there, now look up here. You see that the way we call out the output here is different from what I did now. Here, we selected the whole of this within the same data set and store them here. Now, instead of us calling just this to see the output, we have to reference the data set and use square bracket to call it out. Which I was saying that in the case of threshold, you do not need you don't need to go that way. You just simply call the name. I don't know if you have got to me. You don't need to put it in brackets the way we did in the other
Yeah.
one.
So
You just call the name. I hope it's clear now.
so yeah. So what I want to get very clear is that is the rule governing this particular condition.
This one here. Sorry, I don't
Yes.
think I'm still getting you. Sorry, can you come again with that?
What I'm asking is this, which you have explained, like the previous data where the last one we called out Mandalay. So one wanted to display the called out value, or rather the sorted display.
Yeah, yeah.
And we reference the data sets from where we
Yeah.
were doing it. So I'm
Yeah.
saying, so because this is value, is that why we are
Yeah,
just
yes.
okay?
So that's why I explained so that you don't copy the same logic. So that you know that when it gets to this, it's just the data object name you call. You don't need to reference it with the original data name. All right. So let's quickly give a trial to that in the next 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Let's try it out. You just do like two different threshold filtering, two different thresholds. If you are working with the same data, you can do the one I did and then do for less than instead of do for equals to. Just pick a particular value and say, okay, want to see gross income that are equal to that value. To try that, you can share your screen while that is going on, Mr. And I hope, Mrs. Oyikosi, I hope you are following, please. I hope you are following. Just explain what you did.
Okay. So first of all, I wanted to see from these data values that are greater than 30. So that is this one. So and we have 106, 137 rows of data that greater than the value 30. So the next operation I did was to see the values from that same data that is less than, or rather that are less than 30. So that this is the place. So we have a total. So that's the display. So I went further to look at another heading. So this time around, I was looking at a total. So I was trying to look at a display of data that are less than 250. So that is what I did here. And it gave me 490 rules of data that has value less than 250 as their total.
All right. That is good. That is good. All right. So let's continue. Just share your screen. Thank you for your commitment. Mrs. Oyikosi, I don't know if she's still here. This like I always advise, let's continue to practice. When you are given an opportunity like this to practice in the class, it pays because it allows you to try it out, and then there are some
Sir,
issues you
please.
can.
I'm still having challenge in my work. I'm still getting error because of that previous issue.
Oh yeah, just share your screen. I think it's like your network is okay now. So just share your screen. Let's see how we can rectify it.
DA1 is not defined, so I don't know why the mix of
Your network is the issue. I don't know. Your voice is breaking here. I don't know whether if Mr. Joseph can hear you, let's so that
from
he can
that
put you through.
is the only thing I got right is that and my own right of is not like
Uh,
the previous.
this key error here is the first one. The first one says DA1. Just stay on that one. Don't move until I have to move. DA1 is not, you have moved from where I am interpreting. So I can't see anything to check now. What I'm seeing now, I don't think it's the error that I wanted to correct. Here, why is displaying like this? That count, add the bracket, add bracket to the count, not just count, so that it will summarize it better. Not just calling count, just add bracket, the parenthesis bracket to it. It will organize the summary better than the way it is. It has, in fact. All right, Mr. Joseph, I think we have to proceed. We should get it from the video.
All right, sir.
Okay, so the next type of data filtering I want to explain is filtering with multiple criteria. If you look at this one now, we filter only with one criteria, whether the threshold or the predefined criteria. So let's assume that on this same data set, let me call it out, data one. So from this same data set, I want to filter with two criteria. For example, let's write the question. We want to filter, let me focus on the product line. I want to filter only home and lifestyle products. That the payment method is equals to, so if you check the payment method column or payment column, you will notice that we have different channel of payment. We have the e-wallet, we have the cash, then we have the credit card. So let's assume that I want to select only record where product line is equals to home and lifestyle, and where payment is equals to e-wallet. That is two criteria. So how do we select that? Let me put it in writing. So the topic is data filtering with multiple conditions, or criteria. So the question we are asking is select or filter records where product line is home and lifestyle. I think that is how we have it. And payment method is e-wallet. So this is the selection question. So this, if you look at this, these are two criteria for selection. So for us to answer the question, the syntax is this. We start by observing the name of the data set first, data one, and then you open the square bracket. That is, we are selecting some specific record. Now you now open the function bracket like this. So inside the function bracket, you start by acknowledging again the name of the data set, then dot the header with the first criteria, which is product line. That is where we have the home and lifestyle. So I'll go there and take what product line, try and copy it to avoid the product line. So we are going to have issue here. We have not added the underscore. So let me go with, we have added to customer type. What do we have? Normal. Okay, so let's switch it to customer type because of the space between the product and line. So we ought to have changed it with our rename technique. So I'm changing the question, but let me just answer it first. So Control C. So let's say we are selecting for there's still issue with this. It seems the space was not well added. But I don't know. Let me try it like this and see if it doesn't work. But let me see if I have a. But let me just change it to city or branch rather. Let me just change it to branch to avoid the issue. So we are selecting record where branch is equals to A. Where branch is equals to A. So I will concatenate where I have the first head criteria. Branch is equals to, and then it's a string, follow the way it is in your data set. So once you have done that, the next thing, this is the first criteria definition. So the second criteria is that you close off this bracket, this parenthesis bracket. You come outside it and type what? And. So once you enter the and, you are about introducing the second filtering criteria. And then for that, you start with another bracket like this. Start another bracket, then you call the name of the data set again. Then from here, you concatenate the header where the second criteria value is. The second criteria value is under e-wallets. E-wallet should be, e-wallet should be under payments. Yeah, payment is a single word. I think we have it there. Payment. So the first letter is capital letter. So payment is equals to. Then the same e-wallet, I believe, is spelled this way. E-wallet. So if I want to make it 3 criteria so that I don't have to start. Okay, so let's just go for. If I want to make it 3 criteria, let me just explain everything at once. You will just come out again here and say what? And then open another bracket, and then you call the name of the data set, data 1 again, concatenate it with the header where you have the third criteria. So let's say the third criteria, we want to select gross income greater than that same 28. So mind you, the 3 criteria must be met before a result or a value can be outputted. So where it could not, where it could not meet the criteria, it will select to bring out only the header without what value. So dot gross income, I believe gross income, we have modified the header. Let me check. I know we have used this somewhere. Okay, good. So I'll take it. Control C also. Go back to where I'm working. So paste. Then greater than 28. So this is 3 criteria data filtering technique. So if I run it, so I get some value. So let me confirm the criteria one after the other. The first one was under city. Was it city? The first one was under branch. And we said that all the branch value should be A. So you can see that correct. All the city we have here, they are city from what? Branch A. Now the second one was e-wallet. Payment method equals to e-wallet. So let's go to that section. You can see that I have only what? E-wallet here. Then the third criteria was gross income greater than 28. So let's go to that section. Also find out if the third criteria was also met. So you can see that what? Perfect. So I hope that is clear. So this is how you select multiple. This is how you filter with multiple criteria. Any question? Hope that is clear.
Yes, it's clear, but just let me go through it.
Okay, so write the formula. Please, Mrs. Oyikosi, please make sure that you are writing down. So probably once there's time, we'll see the solution to those errors you are having. I think there should be an alternative way of us resolving those error. What you do is that you can snap wherever section where you have error, just snap it with the error with the output, the code with the error, and post it in the group. We'll be able to look at it and point to some things to change. Okay, Mr. Joseph, once you are done writing, let me know so that we can take another one before I allow us to practice. Just want to take at least a few of them. Are you still writing, Mr. Joseph? Are you still writing?
I'm done writing.
Okay, so now let's look at another. Let's quickly look at another one. So that is all about filtering. Now let's look at getting unique value. So this is another very important analysis that we need to know. With this, we are going to be answering so many questions. In fact, you can use this function to answer so many questions within your data set. So the new topic is getting unique values. Getting unique value. So let me mark it down. Getting unique value. Now, what we are doing is that we want to count with unique value. We want to count with unique value. And at the same time, we want to summarize. For example, the question we want to answer here is, analyze the total count. Analyze total count per city. Per cities. Analyze total count per city, which means that from the entire data, for example, from data one, we want to know the total number of entries or transactions per each of those cities. So how many transactions are from Yangon City? How many of them are from Mandalay? How many of them are from Napito? That is what we want to analyze. We want to aggregate it. We want the function to list them and tell us the aggregate counting. So that's exactly what we want to achieve. So how do we achieve that? We are going to achieve that with a function. Let me highlight it here. Using value count. That is the function. Using value count. Value count. There should be underscore between the value and the count. So this is actually the function we are looking at. So how do we apply it? We call the name of the data set, but before that, we have to concatenate it with the library that is offering us this function, which is pandas. All these functions we are using since they are gotten from pandas. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll say PD. Remember that we must have, or you must have imported pandas and save it as PD. So we are referencing the function called value underscore count from pandas. Now you will have to give the function an input. The input here is your data set name. So which is data one. So from data one, what do we want to select? So we have to specify the criteria for the counting, that is the header. So to select it among other, you bring in the square bracket and then you specify that header which is city, the way it is in your data set. So if I run it, you see what I am going to get if there's no error. So let's check what is the error. Pandas has no attribute what? Count value. Now the mistake here is that this count should have X. So I will just add X here and then run it. So you can see the kind of analysis that I got. So that thing we're doing that time, filtering individually before we could know the total number of entry, trying to understand the trend. You can run this simple value count and then you'll be able to get the aggregate of the counting to the unique variable. So which means that what? Yagon is leading, followed by what? Mandalay, and then followed by Napito. So I hope that is clear. Hope that is clear. Are we still here?
Yes.
Okay. So
Please, let me see the.
okay, so I will allow us to try. So after writing this, I want you to perform the last two analysis before I proceed. Perform the one I did before this one. Mr. Joseph, you can share your screen while you are doing it. And then Mrs. Oikosi, if you can also try it, I hope this one should be able to go. What you are getting there is a warning telling you that very soon that function will have an alternative. So it's not an issue. They are trying to tell you that it might be upgraded very soon. So start preparing for the new one that will come up. All right. So so that is, I think you have gotten it. I believe Mrs. Oyikos must have tried that. So let's quickly continue. Let's quickly continue. I want to see how I can finish this set of analysis so that in our next meeting we'll go to aggregate analysis. Then we'll round up with data visualization with Python. Okay, so now that's all about that. So continue to do more analysis so that you can get used to this logic or techniques. So let's quickly look at data grouping. That is the next topic. Data grouping. Data grouping. Okay, let me mark it down in order to data grouping. So what is data grouping in Python? So data grouping and aggregation means the combination of pieces of data into a single result. I said it means the combination of pieces of data into a single result. So that is what we mean by what? Grouping. Now the function we are focusing on here, so we are going to be using a different function which is called dot group function. So let me just explain the entire concept, what exactly we are talking about here. Now, let's say the whole of this data set, we want to group it by payment. That is, once the entire data set is already grouped by payment, it means that what all the payment types entry will have been in a separate segment. That is, the data will now be divided into the unique value under the grouping criteria. So like I said, if we are grouping by payment and we have how many type of payments here, we have, I know we have, if I could just call out the data again, data one. I know we have e-wallet as one of the payment method. We have cash, we have credit card. So if I'm grouping this entire data by payment, it means that I am going to break the data into three sections, into three segments. So there will be a segment that will assemble all the what? The payment entries. There will be another segment that will assemble all the cash, another segment that will assemble all the credit cards. So that is what the group will do. Then we will now use another function whenever we are asked, okay, since you have grouped the entire data, can we see only e-wallet? You cannot get the e-wallet out. Whenever you want to see the cash, you now get. So the first thing is for you to use the group function to group. And then the second thing is for you to use the what? The dot get to reach out to what? Each of the what? The grouped sections. So let's quickly look at how to group first. So to group, what you simply do, you call the name, specify the name of the data object that is going to hold the group version of this data set. So I will just say group. So I'm assuming that the group version will be stored in group as data object. Then the name of the data set that you are grouping, data one, then concatenate it with the function group, and then open the bracket. Then use the square bracket to select the grouping criteria. In this case, I said I'm grouping by payment. So which means that I'll select payment from the entire data set. And then because it's a string, I will type it the way it is and put it in the quotation. So if I run this code now, it will generate a line of code. Let's check what it's saying here. Let's go to the key error. Data free has no attribute what? Group. So our group is not complete. So the function is group by. Group by. So we are going to add what? By here, and then you run it again. It will generate a code that will signify that you have successfully grouped the data. Now, because we have already stored that code in an object, so we have to call that object, which is a group. Let's call that object to see that code. So this is the code you are going to get. So once you can get this line of code, it shows that the particular data set is grouped. So like I started by explaining, what you have ended up doing at this level is that you have segmented the data into the what? The unique value within the header you use as your grouping criteria. So now the next thing you are going to do is to start reaching out to those groups. Now, if you are working in an office and you know that they often ask you, we want to see only record from a particular city, then you go and group by what? The city value. Or maybe they always ask you, we want to see the particular transaction from a particular location. So you use that location as your grouping what criteria, the way I use payment now. Now, when they now come and say, okay, can we see the record from one of the unique locations? You will now be calling them out instead of you going through the analysis all over. So now the next thing is for us to start reaching out to those groups. We want to view cash payment record. We want to view e-wallet payment method. We want to view credit card payment method since we have already grouped by payment. So now to reach out to different groups, use a function called using dot get underscore group function. Okay, so the syntax will simply be I will call the name of the group version, which is this. I'll call this group Now, I will now concatenate it with the get underscore group. So get underscore group function. Then you will now start selecting. You are not using square brackets here. So now I want to view for cache. The way cache is typed in the data set started with a capital letter C, cache. I want to see for cache. So if I run it, you see that what it automatically calls out what only what cache, because I have grouped the entire data, and I can also check how many of them. There are what 344. So if I'm now asked, okay, call out for, let me copy this, copy. So you can see how fast you are bringing out this information because you have already done the grouping. So now I want to call out e-wallet. So if I run it, you see that what it also brings out what e-wallet. Want to be sure? Okay, these are only what e-wallet. Want to call out the next one. So once you have group, it's just for you to what be using the get underscore group to reach out to the respective group section. Any question? I think is an interesting function that you can use to answer so many analysis questions within your data. Any question? Any question? I hope that explanation. Let me give us some time to try it. Let me.
Yes.
Okay, let me see where you started from. The first one. Okay, so you selected the. Can you explain what you did? Starting
Okay.
from the group.
All right. Okay, so this is where we want to group the payment method. So we use this to group by payment. So after that, we decided to get each of the payment methods. So the first one I did was the e-wallet. So we got this, and I got this. So after that, I did for cash. So the e-wallet has 345 payment was made through e-wallet. So cash 344 and credit card 311. So now I decided to try it with gender. So I group again by gender. And there are just two genders there, male and female. So I decided to get for the female. So female, we have 501 groups. So that means we have 501 female. These are said. So I call them for the male. So the male we have 299 groups.
All right. Now, let's continue. I just want to take the. Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph. So let's continue. Let's round up with the last one. The last one here, which is also an important filtering technique. So let's look at the last function for this section, n large, n largest. N largest is one of the functions that very much used in data filtering. N largest function. N largest function. In Python. So how do we define this function? The n largest function the n largest function method returns a specified number of rows starting at the top. Let me break it. At the top after sorting the data frame by highest value for a specific column. All right. So now let's assume, let me call back our data set so I'll relate the kind of question you can answer with this enlargement. So let's assume that within this data set, let me target the gross income. We are asked to select or filter based on the top 10 gross income. We are asked to select or filter based on the top 10. Let me put it in writing. So the analysis task is from the sales inventory, select or filter by the top 10 gross income. So let's say this is the analysis task. So using which function are we using? We are using the n largest. The n largest function. Right? So the syntax is going to be the name of the data set, which is the A1, the name of the data set, dot the n largest function. Now, once you have activated the function, you specified the number. Now, the question says top 10. If it is top 20, if it is top 2, you put it there. So you put 10 here. That 10 means what? The top 10. Then you put a comma and call column so that you know to define the column that it should display it top 10. You say what? Columns. Columns equals to, then you select. So which of the column is mentioned in our data set? Gross income. So let me go there and take the gross income. To take the gross income, Control C, and then and paste it here. So this is where you determine the number you want to select. That is the highest number you want to select. This is where you specify the column you should focus on. So if I run this now, you get an output. So how do we know if we have actually selected based on the criteria? Let's focus on the gross income. Let's go to gross income column and see whether what we have there at the top 10. You can see after 49, you get 48, that is 2. You get 47, that is 3. You can see the way it listed them. Though he repeated some because they are not the same value. This is 48.700, that is 750. This is 48. So you can see the way it selected them now. So you can use it to answer valid analysis questions. Somebody can say, okay, I want to view the top 10 this, I want to view the top 10 that. Okay, so that is the last command we are looking at under data selection. And this brings us to the end of different techniques on how to filter or to select data, which is
Sorry, sir.
the first part of analysis.
Please,
Okay,
can I
your
see the
question?
coding?
Okay, let
Can
me.
I see the coding?
So if you want to save this data in a different data frame, then what you will have done is to create data object and equate it to this. As it stands now, it's just displayed of answer. All right, so this is where we are going to stop today. So your assignment is to get another data set entirely, another data set different from this one. Then perform all the analysis we have done with all the functions we have considered, and then also prepare your report, either with PowerPoint, that is your conclusions, your observation, which will form the conclusion, plus your recommendation, which will also form the conclusion, either with PowerPoint or you dedicate a separate cell for listing out that for us. Any question? Any question? So the next
So please let me
section,
see
the function.
where we start today. From the
Today,
beginning of today's class.
okay, so let's make it going. I think this is where we started from.
Okay, be going down to the end of it.
All right, so that is all. I hope
Hello,
that
sir.
is it. Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear you.
thanks, sir.
Yes, I have some questions.
Okay.
Okay, now, I'm looking at this data. First of
Okay.
all, is it the way Python display dates?
I can't really hear
That
what you're
is number
saying.
one.
Whether you can raise your
Hello,
voice
sir.
a
Can you hear
little.
me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, what I'm asking is this.
Mm.
Looking at the data we are working on, or rather we're working with since, the date, is
The
this
date.
how Python display dates? Yes.
There is the
Then
date. Yeah.
number
Let
two,
me see. Okay. No, I think this error is from Excel. It was not switched to date format in Excel before we loaded it here.
okay, okay, so that means then that means the same error will be affecting the gross income because we don't know whether it's in naira or it's in dollar.
Yes, yes. This gross income, yes.
Okay, okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? So please don't forget the assignment to get a different data set and run all the analysis we cover today. Please use comments to explain what you are doing per time, and then put your conclusion together in PowerPoint. You are going to present it. Mrs. Oyikosi, don't forget you are going to open the ground for us in the next time. Make sure that your assignment, add this one and the previous one together. Then Mr. Joseph can as well go with this. I think he has submitted the last one. Okay, so if there's no
Okay,
other
sir.
question, we can draw the curtain here. Thank you for joining. See you next Saturday.
Bye bye,
Have
sir.
fun.